This is an early morning recording, so if it's less energetic, go fuck yourself if you want to complain about it. We're all up early. We're all up early.
I think that would be a good name for an early morning show. Go fuck yourself, Cincinnati.
Go fuck yourself.
Like that'd be a good like 5 a.m. show. Wake the fuck up, Nashville. Also a good name.
I know. Are you guys also just a little emotionally exhausted from just the Trump of all of yesterday with the threat of annihilation of a civilization? Like, I just found it all too much.
I think I'm emotionally exhausted on multiple fronts, Jen, and just kind of fucking tired. And I'm like, how much longer do I got to do this? That's 60 years. Okay. Yes.
Oh, not even for Trump, like just for your life. You're just like,
just for my life.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Like,
but
this is really a bear.
With the Trump thing, though, Jen, there's a certain level of unreality that exists in my mind. Like I even though we've done episodes on the war with Iran and I've done episodes on my show on the war with Iran, I can't it hasn't really sunk into my brain yet because it seems so crazy. Like for years, like I've been talking about, on various platforms, like it would be particularly awful if we went to war with Iran. Like that would be particularly bad if we were to do that. Let's not go to war with Iran. Like this is something I've been talking about since like the Obama years when we were getting into the nuclear deal. So now that we're actively bombing them and the president's saying like Tuesday, we will, knock out all of the bridges and infrastructure. Praise Allah. Thank you for your attention to this message. Like it feels so surreal to me that it hasn't really sunk in that it's happening yet. I'm hoping that it will just resolve itself before I fully grok it.
Yeah. I just like the fact that he announced I'm going to annihilate people at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. So I'm just watching the clock all day being like, is this reality? Is this actually going to happen? Are we going to mass murder a bunch of people that we said we're going to help? And then, of course, an hour before. So it's the day after we can kind of look at it and be like, oh, we fell for it by having emotions. But I'm not mad at myself for having emotions about that. I was pretty upset. I found myself upset after we heard that there was a ceasefire, even though Israel is still launching bombs at people.
So is Iran. It takes a little while for them to get their yayas out.
Yeah. So it's and the thing is who knows if this is a real ceasefire? I've looked today. I can't really tell, but regardless,
it is blessed by people who have not said that it would have been blessed before from the Iranian side, like the supreme leader's name on it and the president's name on it. And, some of the people who have been mocking Donald Trump for negotiating in a mirror and saying that he is negotiating with Iran from the Iranian side, their name is on this. The bigger question is, does anybody have fully control over the people that have missiles in Iran? There's...
Or our own president. He's the one I'm most afraid of here. He's the one that I think is the most unhinged, which, considering who we're talking about on the other side, is really scary because they are also pretty fucking unhinged. So
if I agreed with you, I would agree that that's very scary. I don't agree with you, but I can understand that he is a very frustrating person who deliberately, emotionally manipulated the system, by saying that he was going to end the civilization. Yeah. Look, that is at the edge of where I am, even in the Trump's a shit poster. This is governing and war via shit posting, for which I do think there's a lot of truth to that. Saying you're going to end a civilization, even if afterward you say, God bless the great Iranian people or whatever he said afterward, it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great to read your president
I think this is beyond the pale.
But that being said, you can't do the same segment today that you did yesterday afternoon, because the thing of it's madman theory, he needs to make these people believe that he's serious so he can get a deal, at least as we record this at 6 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, seems to have worked, which makes me think he's going to threaten genocide for everything now. If he doesn't get, soybean purchased from Beijing, he's going to be I'm going to kill everybody in Shanghai.
Right. And this is I appreciate that there's a certain level of hyperbole that goes into a good negotiation of we're going to walk away unless you give us a better deal. Okay, that's fair game. But like when you're buying a used car and you're like, sell me this car at 50% less or I'll murder your wife. I will go to your home at 342 Applewood Drive. There's not Maplewood. I'll go to Applewood and I'm going to murder your wife. I'm going to shoot her in the face.
That's how you really know he knows where you live.
Yeah, it's like that's
Applewood.
I think beyond there, and it's crazy. I also think like the madman hypothesis worked to some extent with Nixon because Nixon actually had a foreign policy strategy underneath everything. So he was using strategic ambiguity of like, God damn, maybe he'll drop the nuke. Jesus, we should negotiate with that guy. There was a stratagem that sort of animated all of that. I don't think like Trump is double madman. There's madman up top. Like the top of the duck's crazy and the bottom of the duck's crazy. like so there's not like an actual...
I don't know. I think that's I don't know. The
Here comes MAGA gerbs. It's okay, defend Trump. We're here for it. Love you.
It's too early for this shit. Let's get into me fucking up. The What Now writes, Justin's repeated mention of the Baj as a military organization in Iran left me confused. The non-IRGC military described sounds like the Artesh, the conventional military arm of Iran. The Artesh predates the Islamic Republic and is associated with Iran as a country, as opposed to the IRGC, which is part and parcel with the Islamic Republic's regime. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to learning more about the Baj. Yeah, I don't know where I got that. There's been a lot of, as we all become various experts in things we had no idea fucking existed 5 seconds before, sometimes, you get some wrong words in there. But I do like to eat the mistakes, so apologies for getting the Artesh mixed up with the Baj. That being said, there is a reality to the dual military element of Iran, and what I think you saw over the last 5 to 6 weeks is that Iran's entire strategy is to have all offense and essentially almost no defense. It's part of the reason why you saw neocons really foaming at the mouth to try to put boots on the ground in Iran forever, is because they believe it would be easier because their internal military is not as funded or as well trained as the IRGC, whose job is to build proxies throughout the region and to launch missiles. And a lot of that, from what I've read, comes from the 1988 Iran-Iraq War, where they were terrorized by Saddam Hussein sending Scuds into Tehran. And that was like, that as soon as they understood that, they're like, okay, we can end wars by just attacking civilian infrastructure in other countries, and that will make them stop. And that's essentially fast forward 30 years. And, we have the system that we have now where their most effective has been launching stuff outside of Iran, but none of that has anything to do with the Artesh. The Artesh, you've seen, posts be abandoned and stuff like that. But yeah, it's an interesting world, but I fucked up the name.
That's okay.
We'd like to apologize to the Artesh and to the Baj. Yeah. We're not wrong. We strive to do better, and we will.
We're changing the name of the show to "We're Always Wrong."
I'll come to the Artesh, and I'll just do like USO stuff.
I like that.
I'll do so I'll cheer up the troops.
I always kind of wanted to do USO, Justin, and I never got invited to do it. And now I'm like, well, if I can't do it for America, maybe I'll do it for Iran.
Do it for Iran.
I like that idea. It's like, if you're not good enough to make the American basketball team in the Olympics, you go to, I don't know, Poland or whoever. Maybe I'll do that.
From California, the East Bay, I'm Justin Robert Young from Austin, Texas.
I'm Jen Briney.
And from Washington, D.C.
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And we're not wrong. On this edition of the program, we're going to talk about Afroman and Kanye West being denied access to the United Kingdom as he was set to headline a festival this summer. A very rap-centric, your number one hip-hop podcast. We're Not Wrong. All that plus your emails here on the show. Afroman has announced. Go ahead.
I know I'm a little distracted here. There's a cat. Like, I live very high up in a tower, and there is a cat, which is not my cat, on my balcony. It is meowing at me right now within a foot of my dog who is asleep. And if she notices this, she's going to lose.
Do you want to solve this problem?
What am I supposed to do? Launch the cat?
Take the cat in.
It's not my cat.
No, you don't launch it.
Jen,
Jesus.
Jen,
I'm
listen.
not going to bring the cat in my house.
Jen, I don't want to be weird about this, but you've always had a cat, and you're just kind of crazy, and I guess you're forgetting that you own a cat.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you're a little bit emotionally unstable, and you should just like kind of be calm because you already have a cat. Its name is Ginger. You adopted the cat. All right. Do you remember this now?
I do not. I actually know where the cat came from. It's my next door neighbor's cat. It's a very friendly cat, to the point that it really wants to get in my house. But the problem is, if it's fine. But if my dog notices, she's going to lose her mind, and we're all just going to have to deal with that. So that's why I keep looking to the right.
Wallace has a new protocol. So he gets really excited when he sees a cat, like very excited. There are a lot of cats in the neighborhood. He'll flip the fuck out. And then if we like kind of, I won't let him get close enough to do anything to the cat. But a lot of the time he'll kind of chase the cat. The cat will just stop and look at him. And then he'll go, what do you know that I don't know? So like if a cat just stops and stares at my dog, he like loses all of his nerve.
That's so funny.
You got to be confident as a cat. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, it's true. Well, this one's confident. This one's definitely confident.
You know who else is confident? Afroman. He announced his first Cincinnati area concert since winning a high-profile lawsuit against the Adams County Sheriff's Department. The performance will come as part of his Freedom of Speech tour, following a March jury verdict that his music was protected under First Amendment rights. The case stems from a 2022 raid on his home in Adams County, where he lives, a rural area roughly 60 miles east of Cincinnati along the Ohio River, where deputies found no evidence to support allegations of drug trafficking or kidnapping. Afterward, Afroman turned his incident into songs like Will You Help Me Repair My Door, Lemon Pound Cake, and Hunter Got High, as well as Lick 'em Low Lisa, which was another one of my favorites from this trial. Using surveillance footage and naming officers in songs and videos, which led to a defamation lawsuit that he ultimately won. The attention has boosted his streaming numbers, and he plans to release a new album on 4/20 this month. Mark your calendars, kids, featuring more material about the raid and the trial. Andrew Heaton, this was initially a segment because you were going to have already interviewed Afroman. That has gotten bounced back, but you certainly have done your research on it. So I ask you this question: is Afroman the First Amendment hero that people have made him out to be?
Yeah, mostly. There's one or two caveats that I want to put in there, but overall, I'm pretty enthused with it and hoping he runs for president again. I might vote for him. So I did interview him, but only for a minute and a half. We were supposed to meet yesterday. I should say remotely, but we were going to interview yesterday. He forgot and slept through it, presumably because he got high. And then yesterday, or the following day, Tuesday, we were going to meet, and we did, but it was him on his cell phone in a McDonald's eating an ice cream cone, which was a great visual because he was in the suit with the glasses, and I'm here for the visual, but it turns out the Wi-Fi at McDonald's is not sufficient to carry a conversation. So I was only able to ask him about 3 questions before it turned into 2 bits per second robot voice and was unable to further talk to him. The only question that I was able to ask him that I got a decent answer from, where I was like, oh, that's interesting, was, all right, repackaging all of this, rephrasing a little bit. If someone has been given if the police have been given a tip that someone's been kidnapped and they get a warrant, that seems germane to me to go into somebody's house. And in fact, I can even understand doing it very rapidly in case they thought that person would cause damage to the kidnapped party. hence breaking down a door. I can kind of understand that. I get that. What did he want after that happened that could have kept this from going to trial? What steps would the cops needed to have done? And he was like, apologize. That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
Like, they knocked down my gate. They knocked down my door. And, turns out didn't kidnap anybody. And I wanted them to apologize, and I wanted them to help put my door back up. And he said that they were kind of dicks about it, and that he was really offended, and he felt like he was being talked down to. And like, I think he's got a point. If I were a cop and I knocked down your door and it turned out nothing was going on, I think I'd be like, hey man, I'm really sorry. Let me help you put your door back up. We got a toolkit or something, or at the very least, like, hey, we'll pay the $20,000 that he alleged was lost from the damage that he wasn't
especially
compensated
when it's
for.
a rural town. Like
Yeah.
you're going to see all these people at the Dunkin' Donuts. Like this isn't, Midtown Manhattan where you can get lost in the sauce. Like I can understand that this is like a personal humiliation kind of thing at a certain level.
Where I do have a caveat for this is I do think a couple of the things that he's promoted went too far. And I think that if the cops had not done and caveat, I am not an attorney. I don't know defamation or libel lawsuits. Like, speak to your attorney if you're more interested in this. I don't think that it was a very smart idea for them to cobble that all together as one case, and it ended up weakening the entire thing. There were one or two that I think had a stronger case than the others. So there's a guy, Brian something or other, I can't remember, that Afroman repeatedly refers to as a pedophile. And like, that's not true. He's not a pedophile. But in the video, it's a picture of the guy holding up a kid with the face blurred. And that seems to have caused actual damages to the guy. That lawsuit is ridiculous. So like, I think, the sheriff, the main thing is like, there's video footage of the sheriff glancing at the lemon pound cake, hence the title of the album. I've not been able to corroborate
It made
this
him
yet
want
by
to put
talking
down
to him.
his gun and cut him a slice.
I don't think he actually took the pound cake, which would be really, really funny.
He did not.
So it's just supposition, right? And so like, he's angry that Afroman implied he was fat and wanted to eat the pound cake. That doesn't come anywhere near libel or scandal law at all. He refers to another one of the cops as Beetle Bailey. Again, no one thinks he's literally Beetle Bailey. That doesn't rise to libel at all. Lick'em Lisa, it's you're moving out of the range of this is clearly my opinion to asserting something. However, you're also asserting something within a context that a lot of reasonable people would say like ambiguous, whether that's a factual statement or hyperbole or not. I did do a little bit of case law in case Afroman and I want to get into constitutional precedent, which we might. I don't know. I don't know how into it he is. Milkovich versus Lorraine Journal Co. There's no blanket opinion privilege, but statements that can't be reasonably interpreted as factual claims are protected. And then you compare that, or you combine that with Hustler Magazine v. Falwell. Context matters. So that is to say that when we're looking at libel and defamation, the context matters. If it is a comedy song, if it's a parody, if it's something where hyperbole would be one of the tools that's taken into consideration, that's different than just saying, like putting out a press release of, I think so-and-so murdered his wife. That's different. And then on top of that, there's a case called New York Times versus Sullivan, where public officials are held to a higher bar, including cops. So if public officials want to sue for defamation, they've got a higher litmus test that has to be achieved. So like reading that then, Lick'em Lisa in that context, while it's a statement rather than an opinion, or
for the record, she's eating pussy like it's pizza. Those are the lyrics to Lick'em
Yes,
Lisa.
thank you very much. Yeah. I think in the context of a comedy song and that she's a public official, almost certainly wouldn't hit that. The one that I have a little bit of pause for is the guy that he accuses of being a pedophile, and I say this for a couple of reasons. One, like pedophilia, serious accusation. Also, there's not really a way to defend yourself against it. Like if you get accused as a pedophile in public, you just say I'm not a pedophile, and it kind of makes you sound like a pedophile. So like the recourse is lower. That guy ended up quitting his job. Like he's no longer a cop. He quit his job. He said that kids will no longer stay at his house. He's got children. They won't stay at his house. And there doesn't appear to be
his own children won't stay at his house.
No, excuse me. He can't have sleepovers, or his children cannot have sleepovers, as other children won't go to his house. And I think that one's also a little bit more complicated, because in looking at the various media that he's put out, it's not just that one lyric in one song. Like he'll just go out and do rants where he's like, cops are crooked, they're stealing my stuff, Brian's a pedophile, and will just say this as a rant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that changes the context, because it's no longer a comedic song. So had that one been separate, I think that one might have actually had some legs to it. I don't know if it would hit that bar of public official being able to get it, because I don't know libel and defamation law, but I think that it would have been a lot closer. And at the very least, that would have been less celebrated as a First Amendment case. But for the rest of it, yeah, I think in general, he had a great line in his trial where they went through the depositions of the various butthurt cops that were angry that they got called Beetle Bailey and whatnot. And when, are you aware that you caused this emotional harm to these people? Look 'em low, Lisa. Like, this is a lady who's had to deal with accusations of being a lesbian for years because she's on the police force and so on and so forth. And he was like, yeah, I get that they're angry. I was very angry when they broke down the door to my house, brought guns in front of my children, took money from me, which they did give back, and then left without bringing my door. And like, yes, under those circumstances where they've broken into my house, I think I have the right to make lemon pound cake out of lemons and, say funny things about them in my own context. And sorry for being a victim. Let's talk about it. It's like, yeah, he actually had a really good response to that. So, I think overall this is a coup for free speech. I think that most of the cops absolutely wandered into the Streisand effect on this one. Actually, all of them.
It
wandered
blows
into the
my
Streisand.
mind that they brought that lawsuit. That they wanted more attention on this was wild, and that there was a lawyer that told them that they could win that case is nuts.
Yes. For all of them, even with the guy that I do feel some sympathy for with the pedophilia charges, like even that one, this probably got blown up, but tenfold by result of that. So if you're trying to like, hey, I want this thing to go away. So I think that all of that was silly. I wouldn't have gone that far in terms of it, because I do think he caused actual reputational harm to somebody that's not guilty of that particular crime. But overall, though, yeah, like I think that this, when in doubt, put pressure on the government. When in doubt, put pressure on the cops. When in doubt, err on the side of free speech. And this is a very good example of free speech being really funny.
You need to interview his lawyer, because I will bet you that you have mutual friends. That lawyer looks straight out of Porkfest.
I agree.
There's no way he's not a libertarian super fan.
You know what?
Of yours.
I think you're almost he's okay. He looks Appalachian Ohioan. Like he looks like a guy that lives in the hills in Ohio. For anybody unfamiliar, I don't know who the guy is. He has a square beard that's down to his sternum. And yes, I had the same thought, Justin. When I saw that, I was like, oh, there's a guy that's argued with somebody about Rothbard at some point in his life.
Oh, my God. No, my first thought was I definitely had to squeeze by this guy to get out of the bathroom at the Libertarian Convention. There is no doubt that this guy
you're right.
You're
right. I need to reach
politics.
out to them, because I'm excited, assuming that in attempt number 3, we're actually able to talk to Afroman. I am very excited to talk to him. You're right. The case law stuff would be super fun to talk to. Like that would be great. I'm going to see if we can't maybe do a 2-parter on this.
Afroman, Jen.
Oh my God, I love him so much. I love the suit. I love the songs. I love that I got to introduce my dad to Afroman because you put this on the prep sheet. My dad was driving me to the airport. And he was like, what are the topics? And so I told him Afroman. He's like, I don't know who Afroman is. And I was like, well, let me tell you about the song Because I Got High. Let me play you Lemon Pound Cake. And my dad was like, is this Under the Boardwalk? And I was like, sure is.
Indeed it is.
Yep. And he got a good chuckle out of it. So I was really glad to inform my dad. And then in the process of showing my dad this video, I found out that Lemon Pound Cake has 8.7 million views on YouTube. It's number 58 on the music video charts. And I just feel like had those idiot cops not sued, I never would have heard about this. I never would have seen the videos. It was like them crying about the videos brought this to a whole other level of funny. So, and I really hope that on this new album, which I'm going to listen to, I never would have listened to an Afroman album, but I cannot wait for April 20th. I'm really hoping that there'll be more of those deposition videos from the cops in the rap songs, because those were just so pathetic. These people crying like
they're not. I've already listened to the oeuvre. You'll particularly like. Hold on, I wanted to ask him some of these questions. He most of it is about the lemon pound cake, but you can tell that he began working on it prior to that, because some of the other songs are "Sign My Titties," "Wet Tight Energy," and "Hard Ass Dick," which really have very little to do unless they're metaphorical with it. They're more of traditional rap ballads in my estimation. But I didn't see he's got like a follow-up song that he did based on the depositions that's in there, that he uses AI with it, so that the sheriff has like a rat tail and stuff. But the main videos. The main videos, Jen, very much look like they were done on whatever the MS Paint equivalent of a video program is, circa the year 2005. So if you want a little bit of nostalgia for "So I Got High," you're gonna get that, and it's mostly just cutting from like him walking around his house or a field, or then like going to music venues, but you don't really see the depositions in them.
All of it is just so funny. Like, I just love that he made full-blown music videos out of it. And I get that he can't make a whole album, but I'm hoping there's at least one cop-related banger on there, just in music video form, because they're just so funny. I'm enjoying every single bit of it, because it's getting back at the cops. Like, this is also going on, if we want to make it political, this is going on at the same time that we have like the ICE raids coming into our homes, and it just feels like a little bit of normie revenge. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the things that's so satisfying about it.
I think that, I was texting our friend Kevin Ryan Heats, and I was like, you want to know what? It's good to get a little bit of "fuck the police" back in the mix, because there's been a lot of like public safety failures, and and you don't really want to defund the police. Like, you want to there's been a lot of like serious kind of cop dialogue, and now you have the ICE stuff that's its own thing. But this is just like more like, oh, sometimes cops are dicks. Isn't it nice that like they can get some from the regular guy? And we're not talking about budgets or homicide rates going up or anything like stuff we actually need the cops for. This is like, no, the cops overwent their purview. They walked into the wrong novelty rapper's house, and he decided to dedicate the rest of his life to tormenting them personally.
And I like it because it's nonviolent too. We're not in any way harming the cops. It's like, okay, crybabies. Like, I get you don't like it, but you're not actually hurt by this. So
no, and again, I think they could have solved this too. Had they apologized and helped put his door back up. I don't think this would have happened, because granted, I'm basing this off of like 3 minutes of interaction. I think he was just really offended. Like, it was just like they really pissed him off, and there should be some sort of protocol on the police thing where if in the pursuit of your job you cause monetary damages to an innocent party, there should be restitution for that. And according to him, the damage was $20,000. Now, watching the video, the rural gate that he's got that looks to me like a pretty standard cattle gate on a electric thing, I kind of doubt is $20,000. But they also did use a battering ram to knock down his front door.
Yeah,
I think it's the front door. I mean, that had to have hurt the actual
Yeah, you're right. The mantle, or the lintel, whatever that is. Yeah, and I don't know. It's they either should have helped to put the door back up or allocated funds to get it taken care of.
Here's unanswered journalism questions that I have not looked into and I have not seen. But what was the underlying evidence for that warrant? Because it was kidnapping and drug trafficking, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm piecing this together based on the album, but he has.
That's all I know. All I know is if you've not listened to these songs, he is to the point of ruining the melody information dense on some of them of like the Adams County Sheriff did the and then put it in the warrant that it was drug trafficking.
Yeah. He no, it's kind of like, again, this is one of the things that gave me pause, because like what are those prongs in the various like, is this libel cases that you use, is like, would a reasonable person understand that this is a joke or hyperbole versus factual? And the way he does it in the songs, I just assumed at the very beginning, I'm like, oh, he's putting in and then I like read it and was like, oh no, that's not true. So in one of the songs, he alludes to there being a felonious informant that was looking for some sort of privileged, like some sort of plea deal. So like he puts up a picture of a lady's mugshot, and the implication is that she was looking to get a lesser sentence by turning somebody in, and then accused him of drug trafficking and kidnapping. And then I think said had like a sex dungeon or a dungeon in his basement. Or somewhere in his house. I don't know the level of the alleged sex dungeon. I don't get the impression it was a multi-story house, but it was something to that effect.
But even then, it's like, all right, so you went off on informant. You brought like what looks to be about 20 people based on the security camera footage. You battered down his door and his gate. And it's like, I do think at a certain level, you know, there's got to be something in the old cop handbook of like, what do you do when you oopsied? What happens when like we took a shot and we missed? There's got to be some sort of bedside manner or protocol. And I can imagine, I don't know if there's a lot of people that look like Afroman in Adams County. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of like husky dudes in Adams County. I don't know if there's anybody who has a gigantic afro and wears loud suits and raps for a living in Adams County. And
I think that's probably just one.
Like, I can understand if he's like, oh, this is a tall poppy thing. Like, I'm being singled out before you even get to any kind of race stuff about it, which I'm sure is in the mix. Like, oh, of course, the conspiracy theory about all this awful stuff goes to the one famous guy in town.
One famous black guy in town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And on top of that, too, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So like one of the other questions I was able to get in was, you know, they broke your gate and they disconnected your video camera. What was like, that seems sketchy. Why did they say that they disconnected your video camera? According to him, according to them, they disconnected the video camera because if he did have a kidnapping victim, they did not want to give him visuals of where they were in the event that they had to do a rescue operation. So like if there was somebody in the basement bound and gagged and he had a CCTV camera up there, they wanted to disconnect the camera so that he couldn't see where they were. And I'm like, all right, like that.
He kidnapped them. Wouldn't he know where they were?
No. The cops, like the theory was that they did not want to give their position away to a potentially dangerous person. Like that way they could sneak up on him from some angle. They didn't want to. So I'm like, all right, I kind of follow that. But like also at the same time, he wasn't home. His wife and kids were. So they could have like rung the doorbell and been like, open the door, we're battering it down in 10 seconds. Like that, like there were various options available, I would think, under those circumstances before you had to resort to all of that.
Well, because that was the other thing. And this is where, you know, I would love to see more of a deep dive on like who, if you're battering down a door for a kidnapping victim, you probably should have a name, right? It shouldn't be like, we believe there are kidnapping victims. It should be like, we believe the missing Madonnagy girl is in the basement. Like, right? Like, otherwise, sense. You know, there should be more of a ring the doorbell. Let's see whether or not people are acting fishy. And then you kind of, you know, go further. But then again, I don't know. Cops write in on this because I'm actually curious the police position on like, I'm sure that there are a lot of cops watching this. I'm curious their perspective on like, did these guys go way too far? Is this something that you guys would see as overreach? Also rappers. I want rappers to email into the show. We want only two kinds of people to email about this story, rappers and cops. That's it.
Yeah. Or if you're Afroman's attorney. If you are David
There's
Osborne
a fair
Jr.
shot that dude listens to this show. There's
Yeah.
a fair shot that the attorney
David,
for
if you want to
Afroman
come on,
listens to this show.
you might be our very first guest, David. If you want to come on the program, I would love to talk to you about constitutional law regarding freedom of speech and how that intersects with libel and
Dude just
defamation
looks
lawsuits.
like the JD Vance memes, but he is like definitely somebody who can read you all of Mises.
Yeah, yeah. I've met this type of guy many, many times.
I'd like Afroman to be Justin's new stylist.
Hey,
He's
think that
coming
would
this
be fun.
weekend.
absolutely. No, it'd be
Yeah.
great. No,
I
he's
want to see
man,
what kind
the
of
guy-
suits he puts you in.
The guy
'Cause-
has style. The guy has style. Like there's a one of his videos, Jen. I think it's the one. No, he's got one called like it's like Battle Hymn of the Afroman or something like that. I don't remember the title of it, but it's to the tune of Battle Hymn of the Republic, and it's just him like the cops fucked my door up over and over, something like
Yeah.
that. But like he's just
Afroman is gonna do
that's
ya.
it. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Afroman is gonna screw ya.
Yep. And like, but the whole time he's just marching is kind of a fat guy, and it's enchanting. Like it's extremely charismatic to watch. There's just something about the like peppy swagger march of it. Like I would watch a march if guys just all did that rather than the military thing.
Yeah.
Let me
well,
say
I just
this,
love
too.
that he went to the trial in that American flag suit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like the balls on this guy are enormous, and I love it.
I think he understood. I mean, that was something that was like made for live streaming. It was live streamed, so people were able to make content of it, which was another reason why they probably the cops should have never brought that lawsuit to begin with, because all it did was made them way more famous than they were going to and gave a second life to all this. I mean, like, all this stuff got famous like 3 years ago. Like, part of the reason why we didn't cover this when it was happening was because I'm almost positive we did a segment on the Afroman thing when it happened a few years ago. We'll have to go double
I
check.
had never heard of this until the jury said that Afroman won the case. That was
Well,
the
the
first
jury
time I
might
heard
be
it.
telling you that we almost assuredly did a segment on this when it first happened. We will find out. We will find out.
Okay.
But part of it is that I did do content somewhere about it because I love Afroman. Afroman's first album that has, because I got high on it, I don't know if it was his first album technically, but the album that got him super famous is legitimately one of my favorite things that I spent a ton of time listening to in the aughts in college. Colt 45, crazy rap. Like there's a lot of stuff on that album that I still think about, quotables that I still think about to this day. And then he's in this kind of made for social media trial that initially blew up on TikTok because he had a following there, but also the fact that like he just is like a dude that does colleges still. Like he's just like you follow him because I followed him on social media, and he's
He performs 250 per year, 250 days per year, I believe. He's a working rapper.
yeah, no, and now he's got a whole new audience. Just
And he lives in Ohio.
In Adams County,
Adams
Ohio.
County.
Yep.
Where does Chappelle live?
I think Chappelle's north. Chappelle's closer
1432
to
also in
Applewood
Ohio.
Drive.
He is also in Ohio, but Ohio's a pretty big state.
You know
No,
what?
I know, but Ohio's apparently pretty cool because it has two of the coolest people on the planet.
I would love it if it turned out Ohio was full of rural black people that are into entertainment. Like when you go there, it's all these black guys that live on farms that are really into comedy and music. Because like would move there. That sounds great.
I think,
Yeah.
if you want to buy a lot of land, you could buy it in Ohio. Like, I mean, I've spent a fair amount of time, but you know, my wife's family is all between Columbus and Cleveland in the Mansfield area. And it's like, yeah, you look at those houses, you know, you get some big ass houses if you want. You can get some land if you want out there, if you're willing to be a little bit outside the norm. I can't imagine because I'm a soft-handing, dazzling urbanite, but you know, for others, I'm sure it's delightful, a pastoral time that brings peace of mind.
I guess. I've been to Toledo. I was shocked by the lack of sidewalks, but they did have a good beach volleyball scene, which was very surprising to me. But they did. We had a lot of fun.
I feel like I just do need to mention this because we're talking about First Amendment and rap. You know, Luther Campbell is running for Congress.
I don't know who that is.
Superman's arch nemesis.
Two Live Crew, a legit First Amendment hero, somebody who went to the Supreme Court to defend against obscenity law.
Not cool.
Does everybody not know Two Live Crew? For real?
I've like heard of the name. It's probably one of those things. Like if you played the songs, I would probably know the words.
I think is this
so horny.
Is this the guy that?
So
I know I'm looking good today, Justin. But get back to work.
Sitting at home with my dick on bone. Anyway, yeah, no, Miami booty music pioneer, Uncle Luke, Luther Campbell.
Is this because I know that there was a case in Florida where the city banned a rapper for obscene lyrics on the grounds that, well, we have the legal ability to protect children, but it was at a nightclub. And it was like, hey, like this,
that's the case.
There aren't kids here. It's 21 and over only, and it's after 11 p.m. This is the guy, yeah.
In my home county of Broward, Luther Campbell's from the county just south, Miami. They were performing. They knew it was going to be a challenge with the sheriff. The sheriff arrested them, but that case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they won. Two Live Crew beat the ability for sheriffs to have a ridiculous extension of obscenity law there. But they were absolute pioneers, and now he is running for Congress that in part covers Broward County. It's actually the Shipless McCormick district who is under a gigantic ethics investigation for stealing millions of dollars.
Yeah. I just listened to that on my way to California, actually. It was like a 6-hour trial, and like, she's fucked. Even the Democrats were like, this looks bad.
So he is running as a Democrat for that seat. We'll see whether or not the Democrats run anybody else, but he has a tremendously high name recognition. And Luther Campbell is one of my absolute First Amendment heroes. I encourage everybody to read up on that case and also to listen to Scarred, which is one of my favorite songs ever with him and Trick Daddy Dollars. It's great. It's one of my favorite songs growing up. The best. Uncle Luke, come on the show. We love you. Patreon.com/wherenotwrong is where you go if you want to support the program. And we don't just take your money and run away. No, we give you something. Something like a bonus episode about aliens. Oh, yes, aliens. A lot of alien information in the air these days. Matt Gaetz says that he was briefed on a breeding program. Damn, son. There's a Tennessee Republican, Tim Burchett, who says that he was briefed on things that would blow America's hair back. It's pretty crazy. We're going to talk all about it in the Patreon episode. We do non-hip-hop topics on the program. For folks who, this is their only episode that they've ever listened to We're Not Wrong, we do cover non-hip-hop
It's not
topics
just
sometimes.
Hip-hop and aliens. It's sometimes we get into this.
Sometimes we talk about aliens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to our main beat. The Wireless Festival has been canceled after the United Kingdom government blocked Kanye West from entering the country, citing that his presence would not be conducive to the public good. The decision followed backlash over his planned headline performance, given his history of anti-Semitic, racist, and pro-Nazi remarks. Festival organizers said that they had consulted stakeholders before booking him and expressed regret, emphasizing that anti-Semitism is unacceptable, while also noting the West had recently attempted to apologize and seek dialogue with the Jewish community. The cancellation comes after tickets had already sold out in pre-sale. Refunds are now available. Jen, should Kanye have been denied access to the United Kingdom?
I've actually thought about this one a lot because I don't know if my initial thoughts are on this, which are generally F Kanye, because I really dislike the man. If that's why I feel this way. The should thing, it's like, I'm not a UK citizen. I know that they're not as into free speech as we are here. But when I think about the government of the UK, they have to do some work when you have someone who's going to draw a very large crowd, someone
3 nights.
who has, what's that?
3 nights he was booked. He was going to headline all 3 nights of this festival.
Yeah. So it's a very large crowd with his recent behavior, which includes, pushing actual Nazi, what would you call it? Signatory?
A swastika.
Yeah, like he was putting that out there, and his anti-Semitism was not the type of anti-Semitism where you're like, well, Israel's bombing people. Like, no, he was being anti-Semitic. He was being mean to the Jewish people in a way that it wasn't a one-off. He kept doing it over and over again. So this is someone who was probably going to bring out protests. There was a chance to have street violence, possibly. There would definitely need more policing. Like, if you just don't want to deal with that, you can just tell this controversial artist to stay the fuck out of your country. And so should he be denied entry? Like, I don't know, but am I upset that he was? Not really. He kept saying like, well, I've tried to talk to Jewish people and they won't talk to me, but I haven't seen anything that really indicates that he didn't mean what he said. He keeps blaming his mental illness. And it's like, I know people that have manic depression, none of them just become racist. Like, that's not a side effect of having mental illness. If anything, the fact he keeps blaming his mental illness is doing really bad things for people who have mental illness. So he's always got an excuse. I don't really think he's that repentant. The fact that the Jewish communities are not embracing him, that they don't feel like he's apologized sufficiently. I really have no problem with the UK deciding that this guy is just not someone that they want to expend resources to protect. And I get that, like, from the ticket sales, that there's taxes that go to help to pay for this, but like, they don't need the trouble. Fuck it. Keep him out. I'm not upset about it. So I don't know about the should be question, but I don't care.
It was a public park. They could have just pulled the permits. They could have, done. They had levers that weren't just banning somebody from coming into the country. This does seem like an emergency brake situation to just out and out deny his ability to come into the country. What say you?
I'd have probably let him in, but I'm not British, and we have very different sensibilities. America has freedom of speech. Britain has risk management. They don't really have freedom of speech. And before any British people write in, I acknowledge that Britain has robust speech protection laws for moderate opinions that are inoffensive and not dangerous. I acknowledge that, but that's not what freedom of speech is. Freedom of speech means the ability to say vile things. That's it, right? So they don't work that way. That's not a part of the British Constitution. It's not a part of the British makeup. So I am saying that as an American. As an American, I think we should let people in with awful views, because the alternative is letting bureaucrats decide which views are too awful. And so when in doubt, I err on the side of freedom of speech. Now, there is the non-speech argument. I think Jen's alluded to this, and we could even play this on the American side as well. Of, well, in America, you've got freedom of speech when you're over here, even if you're visiting. Like it's a constitutional protection available to all parties, regardless of citizenship. When in the United States, does it go to does it therefore follow that we have to let in anybody that has odious views that are contrary to the American perspective? The short answer is no. We can, and Britain can also have discretionary power over who they let in. In the United States, we typically associate that kind of in the same way we do with freedom of speech in general. Of, are you coming over here with explicit ties to terrorist organizations, with goals to cause disruptions, with goals to incite violence? Then no, you can't come over. Versus today, post-Cold War, do you have communist views? Do you have fascist views? Do you have racist views? If it's merely you have an opinion we find odious, that's not going to be something that we put in our litmus test. Theoretically, a consul could look at that, but that wouldn't be in the litmus test. So they have the right to do it. I appreciate where they're coming from. I think Jen, you bring up a lot of very practical considerations. I'm not overly bothered by this. But all things being equal, when I'm confronted with two different value sets, one being for public safety, order, and not inflaming racial tensions, which are real values, versus erring on the side of freedom of speech and freedom of movement, I'm going to err on the side of liberty. And so in this instance, if it had been up to me, I would have said, do it. And if you actually incite violence or something, there's going to be a problem. But I don't. This doesn't offend me nearly so much as when Britain actually arrests people for saying the wrong thing. I think the stat I heard is that it's about a person per day that gets a visit from the police for saying something on Facebook that was inappropriate. That truly does freak me out and irritate me, and I think the British should do better. In this instance, it's more like, I don't feel particularly strongly about this, but I probably would have erred on the side of leniency rather than firmness.
Can I also just say, like, when you have the choice of let Kanye in or just pull the permit, I do think there is a danger with Kanye based on the fact that he was doing those Sunday services basically during COVID, that this guy would just be like, hey, they're not letting us have a permit, but I'm going to be in this park. I could just see him gathering a crowd and making getting a permit a thing if you let him in. So it's like, if you don't want his brand of trouble, I think that leaving him out of the country is probably, like, if you're just the government and you don't want to deal with Kanye at all, just not having the Kanye in the country is probably the only way to pull it off, because he's such a spectacle.
That's insane to me. I mean, all of this, the fact that they actually just banned him is nuts. Like, start at, like, understanding from what he has said, the year and a half that he just went through where he, released a song called NHH. The HH is Heil Hitler. The N is the N-word. It was obviously something that went insanely viral. And somebody who follows Kanye, because Kanye is a generational artist for me. Probably my favorite. Probably the music artist that I've listened to the most in my life. I have a tremendous
more than John Philip Sousa?
More than John Philip Sousa.
Wow.
I can understand where people have complicated and controversial thoughts about him. He has created a controversial career for himself. I don't really know where to fold in the bipolar stuff to it, because I am not bipolar. I don't understand where that is. I do know that in the last 6 months, he seems to have come back after some time away, fatter and more coherent, which says to me that he probably went to treatment and got sober, because usually when people come back a little bit fatter and more coherent, that's usually what happened, is that there was some kind of chemical thing that got right. His new album, which was largely comprised of songs that he has a song on his new album called All of the Love, which is phenomenal. It's a great song. And it is largely a song about, one of the repeated lyrics is, we don't have to hold on to pain we left behind. It's a great poetic thing. The song was originally called Gas Chambers on the previous version of the album that he was making.
He's trash.
He is somebody for whom is a lot. And even as somebody who's a fan of him, I can say that he is a lot. Now, the song Now is beautiful and poetic, and I've played it a million times. The pathway to get there was obviously something that was a lot more ugly and complicated. It appears that now, I also think he's broke. It appears that now he is trying to rehabilitate him as the kind of artist with the catalog that he has. There's a reason why he can headline 3 days of that wireless festival, and selling tickets was not the problem. It was going to be getting through any of the controversy, which they did drop. I think Pepsi dropped their sponsorship. Diageo bottlers dropped their sponsorship for wireless. So there were things that were happening before the UK straight up banned him. But selling tickets was not the issue. And the reason why is because he's got probably 20 hits that that most people know and are aware of. He is somebody that, just sold out SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. 2 nights, 80,000 people sold out for. Like, he still has a tremendous drawing power because when he plays the hits, when he does, when he is just an eccentric artist that has a gigantic formatted live show, he's huge. I don't know, next to Taylor Swift, if there's anybody that could be bigger if he actually focused on that. What puzzles me on the UK side is that if we're just going to talk about Kanye's last year of anti-Semitism, there is some stuff that I've seen of imams at mosques in London that have said a lot spicier stuff than, there are particularly controversial imams in London that have said more explicit stuff and probably still say more explicit stuff in that country, today. And it is not a country that has been spared of radical violence, radical religious violence from that sector. They have had a problem with rising anti-Semitism. And so, like, from that perspective, it's like, okay, well, maybe because we already have a problem of our own making, we want to keep Kanye away. But I don't know. It to go to the perspective of, like, you're just not allowed to come in the country, like, for internet videos. It's not like he did anything specifically in the UK that got him banned. Like, that's nuts to me. That's crazy.
It's more than internet videos. Like, he
What is
could
it?
cause real problems in society if people decided to protest him. People were definitely really upset by his words. Like, I'm not even Jewish, and I'm disgusted by what he was saying and his behavior.
What disgusted you the most?
I mean, the song, N-word Heil Hitler, like, how dare you? Like, he's trash. He's a really trashy, bad person. And I get that you like his songs, Justin, and that's fine. But if
I love them.
country, I know you do. And, like, if you want to support him and buy a ticket wherever, Los Angeles, they have the infrastructure in place to deal with whatever happened and nothing happened. But if the UK chooses not to have that, like, there are consequences to being a terrible person. And so I really struggle to feel bad for him in any way. I don't give a shit if the UK wants to keep him out and just not add any more tension to their society than already exists. It's just an unnecessary risk. They can do what they want to do. And Kanye, you did it to yourself. You could have kept these thoughts to yourself, and like I said, it also really bothers me that he blames his bipolarism for his racism. Like, racism is not a symptom of being bipolar. It's an excuse that he's using. And other people who are bipolar are kind of stigmatized when he does this. So I think he's a shitty person. Just, it's that simple for me.
I think the bipolar thing's a little bit more complicated than that. Like, I follow Freddie DeBoer. Freddie DeBoer's bipolar. I had him on my show talking about his book dealing with bipolar disorder. And something he inveighs against in general, not what Jen is saying, is there's kind of a camp of people that tend to view mental disease as a modality rather than a disease. That, it's just, schizophrenia is a beautiful mosaic way of seeing the universe as opposed to how we do it. And that particular camp tends to say that, any type of racism is a moral infraction that is in no way precipitated by what is just a mental modality. Freddie DeBoer pushes back on that and says, no, like, mental health can make you go down crazy tangents that are conspiracy theories that wind up being anti-Semitic. Like, anybody that gets super into conspiracy theories, you wind up getting anti-Semitic, or at least reading a bunch of
it all
anti-Semitic
ends
shit.
at protocols at the Elders of Zion.
Yeah,
it
and
all ends in the center of the earth with the Jews controlling the weather and the bags.
I don't think that means that if you are bipolar, you become racist. But what I do think it means is that it's ambiguous. That it's not, if somebody says a racist thing, they're 100% morally culpable for racism in every single instance because mental health cannot precipitate that. Therefore, it is moral depravity. Nor does it mean that if you say something racist, there's no moral culpability whatsoever because you can't control yourself. It's somewhere in the middle. There's some degree of ambiguity. It could influence things.
Which, like, fine, but he pretty much blames it on his mental illness. And he's a bad person in other ways, too. Like, he's a deadbeat dad. He's a shitty person. And if the UK doesn't want to deal with him, fine, don't.
So your argument is lifetime achievement award, that there's just like, there's not enough redeeming there, even if a lot of people wanted to pay money so they could sing along to Gold Digger.
I mean, because of what I said in the beginning, that the UK would have to deal with any fallout that comes from this, whether it's people protesting, people being upset, people contacting the government for allowing the permits, the sponsors that are dropping out. Like, there was a whole hornet's nest that comes from having someone that controversial performing at a 3-day festival, the extra security, like all that stuff. I feel like all of that combined with you're doing all of it on behalf of hosting a really shitty guy who really hasn't redeemed himself since doing the shitty things. All of that together is where if I were Prime Minister of the UK, I'd be like, we also have the option to just not. And so that's what they chose. And I don't hold it against them.
Disgusting.
That's how I feel.
Change
about
leadership of Labor.
But
Labor, let somebody stand up and challenge Keir Starmer. He does not deserve to be prime minister.
You know what? I don't
anymore.
think any of them are doing. I mean, even Nigel Farage was like, I don't think he's a good person. Like, I don't know what. Like Nigel Farage was.
Farage said that he should have been allowed in, but he is abhorrent.
Yeah.
That
So
was Farage's
I
take.
will say I think that the UK is primed for a third party to come in and champion free speech. Like that. One of the experiments we ran in the United States over the last 10 to 20 years was, can we get rid of speech we don't like through censorship? Now, we didn't do it through the government, although we kind of did it through the government via backdoor stuff. But we didn't explicitly ban stuff. But I should say, platforms tried to suppress viewpoints that they didn't like by deplatforming and knocking people off, thinking that would make the problem go away. It just metastasizes it. It doesn't fix the problem. And the UK tries this at a much larger scale. I think there's a lot of percolating, angry, pro-speech inclination in there. And like, if Reform were to pick up that mantle and run as the pro-free speech party, I think that they could really run with it. That being said, all of this is extremely British. America really, really prioritizes free speech. This is something that I'm very proud about as an American. I think it's we are the best country in the world and in the history of the world when it comes to free speech. Find me another country that's as good. I don't think you're going to do it. Britain really, 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 really prioritizes levelness and placidity. That is a very high priority for them. Don't make waves. That is a big value to the British. There was you can sort of plot two parallel developments that happened between our countries back in 2002, 2003, where there was a guy, a preacher in Florida, bought a stack of Korans and he was going to burn them at a time when that was a very inflammatory thing to do and would probably result in terrorist action.
around the Charlie Hebdo stuff.
It was before then. It was
before
this
Hebdo?
Is yeah. This is it was either late high school or early college for me. So it was 2002 to 2005. That was permitted under U.S. law. He eventually didn't do it because enough people convinced him, literally people are going to die. If you do this and you publicly film burning Korans, somebody's going to do a reprise killing, that blood will be on your hands for you basically just saying you hate Islam. And he eventually backed down. But he did have the legal right to do it. Nobody contested that. In the UK, somebody set a Quran on fire and jumped over it and filmed it as I hate Islam type thing. And that guy got arrested and went to jail, because that was considered inflammatory. It was considered insightful. That was not considered protected speech under British law. So they do very much prize don't make waves and are willing to curtail odd man out positions in order to achieve that.
Yeah. And the other thing I forgot about is that right now there's a lot of people in Britain that are not very happy with our current president, and Kanye was a very open MAGA. So there's also that could
he also ran against him.
Yeah, but he's also been in the White House with him with the MAGA hat on. So it's just if you're
it didn't
worried
hurt
about your
ticket sales. They sold out the entire festival.
Understood that he has fans, Justin. I get that, but he also has a lot of people that don't like him a lot. So you could have fans and then a lot of other people who are not fans in the same place yelling at each other. And how about the UK just goes, We don't need any of this noise.
I guess, but that's the thing is that they're so inconsistent with so much other stuff. Like, it's not like they haven't had controversial artists. They had a big thing last year at one of their, I think it was a Glastonbury festival, so it wasn't in London, but, you know, it became a big thing of a guy chanting death, death to the IDF, you know, on stage. That became a whole thing. It's not like that there's not been a history of controversial artists that have performed in the UK. And again, it's like, you know, there certainly is a large, you know, room for people to have controversial statements toward Jews in that city specifically, you know, currently. And none of them wrote Jesus Walks.
I mean,
Name me and a mom
fan,
who's got a hit like Runaway.
But I don't
Name me and a
having,
mom.
I don't think having a hits excuses.
Hits, though.
I get it, Justin. You like him. I get it. Like, I know that people are still buying his tickets because of the music and excusing all of his bad behavior.
He brought Lauryn Hill out to sing All Falls Down at SoFi.
That's great. Still don't give a fuck. I would never give him money. Ever, ever, ever. I would never. But I also, like, I understand if people are upset enough to protest that concert. And I mean,
I just hope he stays sober for long enough and doesn't say anything so fucked up that I could start wearing my Vote Kanye hoodie again that I bought when he was running for president.
I suggest you don't.
You might be able to get a Vote Afroman. Afroman filed in 2024. I don't think he was on any ballots, but he did file, and he's now got a lot more push behind him. So, like, I could totally see him run. Like I'm going to say 20% chance he's the Libertarian Party nominee. Like, I could see that, like, unlikely, but, like, I don't know, 20% chance. And otherwise, I could see him. One of the things I want to pitch to him is like, hey, if you want to run for president again, I got some ideas for the Whig Party. Like, I'm pretty sure we could get on Louisiana, and like maybe we could get an electoral vote in Maine. So you might get the opportunity.
Speaking of upcoming elections, look what I got in the mail.
Oh, yeah.
Nice new bag from C-SPAN. So C-SPAN 2026 on it. I'm so excited. Did you boys get one, or do they love me more than you?
Not only did I get one, I put Bella in it, and I sent the picture to C-SPAN.
Oh.
Nope, didn't get it.
Why didn't you send it to me? I want to see that.
Because I knew you were going to have this Kanye take, and I wanted to punish you.
You chose the topic. I think you just wanted to fight with me today.
I just want to show my love, all the love for Kanye. I mean, I honestly do think that it's like Kanye as an artist is a very, very fascinating question. And like, I don't blame anybody for not liking him, because I think his acidity is, you know, apparent. But yeah, I don't know. This is just more me trying to dunk on Europe because they're, you know, they don't believe in anything.
Well, I'm okay with that. And thank you, C-SPAN, for my swag. I love it so much.
There we go.
And I love C-SPAN. We love you. We love you, C-SPAN. Thank you for existing.
We're not wrong pod at gmail.com. That's where you need to go if you want to write the show. I finally visited Europe, wrote. After hearing about how great Europe is from Jen for years, I finally got to go there myself. The middle class is so back. I visited Italy and the UK, and it is way different than I expected. I didn't know how Italians aren't all 600 pounds. There's food literally everywhere, and you get a lot of food for the price. And it's like 90% pasta. The streets are hectic, uneven, and dangerous. Cars driving through crowds of pedestrians was new to me. The UK is basically the Midwest with trains and less free speech, though we did get a warning from the consulate that there was a No Kings protest outside of the U.S. Embassy in London while we were there, which is the funniest possible thing that could happen. I hate to say it, but it did change my opinion on trains. Riding the trains was fun, like a cool puzzle where you get to juggle how you get home and not to get robbed in the city's vomit tunnel.
Yes. Score 1 for trains. Well, good. I'm glad you guys had fun. So.
There we go. We talked about how heavy social media users sour on democracy. If I may, writes, this is quoting Andrew Heaton from our last episode. What I'm hearing is that Nixon was the high watermark of American democracy. It's in that 20-year period that we almost impeached a president. Like, that is the zenith of American democracy, is the moment that Nixon gets ousted for Watergate. This is now the emailer. Yes, actually, Heaton is being sarcastic here, but it totally was. The president did something scummy, and he was ousted because of it. That's the system working as intended. Democrats didn't even control the 2/3 majority required to convict, but people assumed that he would be anyway, because he was guilty, and that was more important than partisanship. Where is America now? Presidents didn't stop doing bad things. They can just rely on their own party now to support them regardless of how bad they act. Please give me back the Nixon era.
Hey, I agree. And yeah, even though I was being cheeky, I think your analysis is spot on. The president was actually subordinate to Congress, or could be subordinated to Congress. There were things that were likely to get actions for it. Yeah, I agree with all that. The thing that I was kind of pushing back on is that I hear people say occasionally we don't live in a real democracy, and why I take issue with that is I'm like, when did we? Like, okay, there was a period where slavery was legal, and then there was Jim Crow. Women couldn't vote till 1920. The Civil Rights Act doesn't happen until 1963. So it's like, were we only a democracy between 1964 and 1980? Was that was the only period that we were a democracy? Like,
yeah,
that's kind of what I put.
It?
Reagan, because Carter was fine, but then once Reagan's in, we're not a real democracy anymore. And by the way, we had gerrymandering throughout all that time. So I like that. That's kind of the thing I was pushing back on. In terms of that being the high watermark, yeah, I think you're probably right. Like certainly the president was less powerful and definitely more subject to the will of Congress and restraint by Congress, for sure. Hasten the day for us to get back to that. The branches of government were definitely working a lot better back then. And on top of that too, I think like if being a Republican or a Democrat didn't really mean anything when Nixon was in office. So there's lots of things to be nostalgic for. I share that with you.
Wait, what?
Well, okay, if you were a Democrat,
who is you? An elected official or a citizen?
Citizen.
Okay, it did mean something different. Yeah, you're right. I would agree with that.
Yeah, because when Nixon's in all, I mean, really till like the 90s, if you're a Democrat, do you mean like a Berkeley hippie, or do you mean a bigot in favor of segregation? Because both of those exist within the Democratic Party. If you're a Republican, do you mean like Barry Goldwater, who's a super libertarian who's also a war hawk? Or do you mean Nixon, who wants price controls and to create the EPA? Like, the parties weren't like quasi-religious identities yet, or if they were, made even less sense in doing so.
Yeah, there were still regional media where people were more connected. Now the difference is that now everything's nationalized. So yeah, it's like true. you have groups issues, and you have money that are like, if you are running in Texas, you kind of have to be exciting to people in New York and California because they're the people that are going to pay for you to run a campaign. So it's like you can't be too outside the orthodoxy there. Republicans, their funding is a little bit different, but certainly there's more of a nationalized identity. When You Wish Upon a Star writes, I love how Jen talks about how democracy doesn't work anymore because it's only for the rich, and then immediately talks about how Disney is great for everyone.
This one's confusing because I certainly never claimed that Disney is a democracy. It's a very weird comparison. I mean, Disney is as corporatocracy as you get. Like, pores are literally not allowed in Disneyland. And at least Disney is completely honest about what it is. They've never claimed that every person is welcome and no one gets to vote. So it's like, what do the two have to do with each other? I don't understand this criticism.
Literally, when Walt wanted to build Epcot as an actual town, the citizens would not be allowed to vote. Like in a place where he wanted people to live. He wanted to have the experimental prototypical city of tomorrow. And he was like, by the way, you're not going to get the vote.
Disney's
but
like
that sets us
literally
up
a corporation. I understand what it is. And like I've said a billion times that people don't seem to like trust the words that come out of my mouth. I'm not like anti-corporation, which I think this shows. Like Disney is what it is and I love it. But I don't want Disney running our country because I would prefer to have a democracy. And so I don't want corporations running our government because corporations and government are two different things. So when we talk about government, I don't like corporate influence. When I talk about Disney, corporate influence is literally all there is, and that's fine.
We then talked about Disney adults. The City of Tomorrow writes, people will spend tens of thousands of dollars to fly from all over the world just to spend time in a clean, safe, walkable city with the best public transportation aside from Japan. We could all learn a thing or two from Disney World.
Yeah. Functional government. It's kind of
That
nice.
was actually part of the reason why Walt wanted to do Epcot, was because Disney was often showcased in conventions about public transit and how to move people as an example of like just the basic blocking and tackling of how to do that. And he's like, well, if we're good at it, why don't we have a city? And then he tried to make one and he died, but it was probably going to be like a Jonestown, a weird cult.
Although
So it's probably
Celebration
better.
exists. Like Celebration is a Disney town.
Yeah, but that came from the initial idea. Walt dies as Walt Disney World is being built. And initially he wanted it mostly to be Epcot, like a city that he would run. And then
he
also
wanted
like,
like
all
a
right, to make
like
money,
a-
we'll do a bigger Disneyland.
Yeah,
And then when
he wanted
died,
a
it's
utopian
like,
company town, right? Like that was the idea. This was not so much an amusement park as like, I am going to fix the urban landscape of America. This will be the showpiece city that shows you what we can do as Americans, and we'll fund it by having a roller coaster, I guess. And then
basically
the roller coasters become the predominant element.
he wanted to constantly be an R&D department for like urban development, that you would always be re-updating the newest shit. And so you'd be constantly tearing up the sidewalks and putting in new things and making new lights and blah, 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 putting in new appliances into the home. And so some people would volunteer to live there and then work at the theme park. It's a weird idea. Anyway, we did.
I mean,
the whole
Disney is a
World's
cult. The people I knew that worked there didn't want to do it long term because you were expected to come to Disney on your days off. Because they would have these days where like, we're closing the park for 3 hours for the employees. And they're like, that's the last place I want to go. But it was required to come in and enjoy the park on your day off. And like the people that had been there for 20 years, that's their favorite day. But the normal people, they don't last. They definitely want it to be your whole life. If you're going to be there
and that's the watered down version compared. I mean, like we're talking about
what Disney wanted was way worse. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's okay.
I
for
don't
adults.
think it I don't think it was worse. Like I think there should be more of that kind of thing. Like it's cool. Like right. Like I wish there were more experimental cities like that. Right. Like now if like you couldn't leave, I would find it abhorrent. But if a bunch of people were like, I want to go live in Disney cult land, and like that's what they love, and they are able to build good public transit therein, like terrific. Let's have more experiments like that. I want more variation. I want more innovation. I want there to be more pockets of weirdness in our country.
I would like for
guess
there
it's
to be
fine if
urban
you
development
wanna be
made
all
by
in.
somebody who virulently hated communism. That would have been cool to decouple the idea of collectivism from like we should have clean streets.
Yeah.
What? How do you?
Walt Disney
what?
hated communists.
Yeah, and yet that society is kind of collectivist. Like it's so collective. Especially if you want your people to live there, like live, eat, breathe, your healthcare, your housing, all of it is in this one little society. Like it's funny that you can say it's anti-communist, and yet that's pretty fucking.
I think as a devout anti-communist, my problem with communism is not sharing. It's pointing a gun at somebody and saying you have to participate whether you like it or not. If like I'm like a socialist if it's voluntary. If you have the ability to leave, I think socialism is great. It's when you don't have the ability to leave that it's a problem.
I guess. But I guess for the Disney people, if Walt Disney had his way and you're an employee and all of a sudden your whole world is dependent on that job. So it's like if you don't have that job, then you can't keep your housing and you can't like that's, I think, the danger of the whole, idea of having the company be where you live and like the center of your life, because if you lose the job, you lose it all. And it borders on exactly that. Like if you lose your home, that is kind of like having a gun pointed to your head. So you kind of have to stay in the cult or completely restart.
Kind of like it.
Kind of, I know.
But yet
like,
not exactly like it.
I mean,
you
could say that about like monks and nuns. I'm totally fine with monasteries existing. I want more of that. I would love for there to be like corporate towns, I would love for there to be communist kibbutzim. The main thing is you can leave if they fuck up.
Yeah.
But I would love for there to be variation like that in the country. I've done a whole week on communes. I think communes are great. I just don't think they're good when you're forced to live in them.
Yeah, that's fair. It's totally fair.
It's okay. Adults and kids like different things, right? As a 45-year-old dad who sometimes feels like I haven't fully grown up, I like being able to access things that remind me of my childhood that are plussed up, a Walt Disney term, for a more mature audience. But it also makes me a bit sad that my kids aren't getting the unadulterated experience that I had. It's similar to Jerry's argument about drag shows. He said that what made them good was the subversive nature, and by making them something for children, you lose the plot. Rather than trying to make everything for everyone, it's okay to separate experiences for adults from experiences for kids and families. In fact, it makes them both better because you're not watering down the experience.
I guess I don't really understand this because as someone who grew up at Disneyland, like when was Disneyland not for the adults? Like I remember it was a rite of passage to go from spending all day in Fantasyland to like when you finally ride Space Mountain. Like I had to work up the courage for that. And all the little kids had to work up the courage. It was like you went to the adult sections when you were ready, but they were always there. Disneyland was never just for kids. So I'm very confused by this whole line that it was a kids thing and now the adults are taking over. It's very odd.
Maybe it's all by design can shed some light on it. The rise of the Disney adult subculture is no accident. It started when Michael Eisner became CEO in the mid to late 80s and implemented a number of strategies to expand the park's appeal to teens and young adults. Thrill attractions like the former Alien encounter at Magic Kingdom, which was originally intended to be based on an R-rated Alien movie franchise, events like the Food and Wine Festival at Epcot serving alcohol at Magic Kingdom, which started in 2012, are all part of the plan. Park attendance may be down compared to pre-COVID numbers, but park revenue is up by over $10 billion. It was closer to $1 billion in the 2000s. The theme park and cruise line business segment has become their single biggest moneymaker for the Walt Disney Company, and Disney adults are the reason why. Other kid-oriented business are also following Disney's example. Have you seen how expensive and elaborate Lego sets have become?
So, I mean, even the examples in here, you're talking about Epcot, which is very different from Disneyland, which still doesn't serve alcohol to this day. You can get alcohol in California on the California land side, but you still can't get it on the Disneyland side. Disney World has different parks, and there's places for children in the parks and there's places for adults in the parks. So I still don't understand. I don't think that it's a reality that Disney was ever just for children. I think that is a fantasy here for the people that believe it.
So let me reframe it. Not for kids per se, but it was the primary customer in an era, and let's just say for this emailer's example, before the mid 80s, which is hard for us to know personally because we are all children of the early 80s. But the unit they were advertising to was families. Parents with children between the ages of, let's say, 5 and 13. And that since then, the target demographic has expanded to not only be families with kids between 13 and 17, because now you're giving the kids that don't want to play with baby shit something to do, like what Alien Encounter was, which I rode back when it was first launched, and it fucking ruled. And I was a teenager.
Agreed.
Who
that was
wanted some shit to do.
We're talking about the one where like the alien comes out of the like comes down and looks at you. You're on a slow mo.
And it had
coaster.
like surround sound, and it would breathe
really cool.
on your neck,
Yeah.
on the back of your neck. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
But the teen segment, and then now it's like, no, if you are in, from your 20s into your 60s and you don't have kids, we want to create an experience for you on a level that they had not before. That
Which
is,
I
I
see
think,
as an expansion, but it's still very much targeted to kids. So I don't see the problem where the parks themselves have expanded. What's the problem with expanding the customer base?
Maybe our next emailer can put those frustrations into context. For real, they're ruining my kids' childhood, writes. All these couples that are flooding the parks, I'm shocked that Andrew didn't bring up the supply and demand economics. When a bunch of 40-somethings rush in and are willing to pay upwards of $500 a ticket, the normal family of 4 will have to pay $2,000 a day to take their kids to the park. That's 4x the cost for food, souvenirs, and the cost is too high for a regular family to afford. You are driving up the ticket price to the point where now it is not accessible by that initial customer base is the frustration.
Disney's always been expensive. This is nothing new. And I think it's, like I said, the parks themselves have expanded. They've had a reservation system during COVID. So it's like all you had to do is get a reservation and you can get the ticket because they just, supply and demand didn't really matter because they were full every single day. And there's also ways to make it more affordable. So one of the things that I have long done, you buy your ticket to Disneyland, you walk outside the park to across the street, you get your lunch, and then you go back in because Disneyland's always been expensive. So I don't think that adults enjoying the park is making it harder for children to get it. Like, I don't know. I find this argument to be bullshit.
I think
Shut up, father. You don't know your own experience.
I think
I get that it's expensive, but it's always been expensive. Always.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's fine on its face. Yes, if you increase demand, prices are going to go up. That's true. But remember that supply and demand very rarely works in a permanent stasis. Like it can if you freeze the ability to build new housing. But in an instance like this, like Jen brings up, if there's really high demand, what happens? They're going to try to expand supply. They're going to try to create a new park for people to go into. That, like when you get high demand, companies respond by trying to sell more. They'll increase prices temporarily, but you're more likely then to get like Universal Studios to build more stuff. You're more likely to get Knoxbury Farms to build more stuff. Like you're going to get more roller coasters with high demand anyway. So yes, it might raise prices, but I don't think it'll just permanently sit there. But more to the point, like, I don't know, I went to Disney World in 2020. I had a good time. I'm not apologizing for that. Like I get to have fun, even though I didn't have kids.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of mean to say that we're not allowed to go because we didn't have children.
Shame.
And also
writes,
Disneyland is double the size that it was when I was a kid. So it did expand. They just changed the parking lot structure. So yeah, it's bigger. It can hold more people now.
Shame writes, yes, I shame people who go to Las Vegas and/or casinos, and I shame the degenerates who go to Disney as adults without children. It'd be one thing if they were bringing children or grandchildren with them. It's creepy for these swingers, degenerates, and other misrebates to go to Disney as an adult without a family.
I hope this is a joke, because otherwise you're a judgy, shitty person, and like I hope you enjoy the Kanye concert.
Yeah, I'm just going to assume. I'm going to assume it's a joke. I don't think that this. I don't know. For the reason
does exist. Like, I mean, whether or not this person is joking about it, the sentiment does exist.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You know what? I think it makes sense for somebody like me to go to the Star Wars thing at Disney. Like that makes sense, and like I don't apologize for it. But I think this is probably somebody that's being hyperbolic.
I would hope so, but I do think that this does exist. I do think there is a strain of people that feel like adults that don't have children should just be out of children's spaces, and I think that's crap. And just the amount of shame that you feel towards other people, like, get therapy. Like, why can we not have joy? Like, also for me, I take a little offense to this because, like I said, I grew up in these parks. So why can't I go to the places that feel like home to me because I didn't, create a person with my body? Like, fuck this emailer. This is so rude. Nope.
We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. On PX3 this week, I talked with Kirk Beto about, by the way, we're still shut down for the Department of Homeland Security. We still haven't come up with any kind of solution for that. And so we did some winners and losers of it, but it's still not over. So, that's fun, but a big conversation about that. And I have no idea what's going to happen Friday for Friday's episode because I might be stuck here for another couple days. So we'll find out.
Take a quick second on this whole DHS thing because I flew yesterday. I was literally the only person in the TSA line. I really appreciate that. It was lovely. But Donald Trump is funding everyone in the DHS, and that's not legal. But because it works for us, we're just allowing this illegality to happen. No one seems to be complaining about it. The DHS, who knows with no pressure when it's actually going to get funded. Are we bothered at all by the fact that he's just deciding where our money goes, usurping
that he's illegally deciding that Congress can't use shutdowns as emotional and political leverage? Like,
yeah, but he is usurping Congress's power, which Congress is allowing him to do
by not
and I know it's
doing their fucking job.
I get it. It's all bad. But this is another power transfer to the executive branch. I mean, maybe all I'm looking for here is for us to acknowledge that that is happening right now, because I am a little just like, how is this allowed? Like, this isn't allowed. He doesn't have the money for this, and yet he's doing it. Like, it's just another, he can't do that, and yet he is situation.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like, I guess of all the things that, you know, I can agree upon where there has been executive overreach, not only with Trump, but also through my entire life, where the executive branch steadily just grabs more and more levers of power. This one I have a hard time getting worked up over when it's like, fucking fund the goddamn government. Like, I mean, come on, what the fuck are we doing, guys? Like, you know, Thune should have never split the thing. They should have made the Democrats eat it, like the Democrats made the Republicans eat it all the time. Now it's a mess because nobody wants to agree on the compromise. Thune just passed it in the middle of the night because the Democrats couldn't even take the win. You couldn't even sell the win as bipartisan. That's the other thing, is that it's like the Democrats got what they wanted and they couldn't even sell it as bipartisan. So at least there would be some shield of like, hey, it's a bipartisan thing. Let's move forward. No, the Democrats were so scared about looking like they were, you know, caving or not fighting, that they have Thune do it in the dead of night with 6 people by unanimous consent. So now it looks like a shady deal because it is a fucking shady deal. So it goes to the House where there's no unity. And now we're just sitting here in our own shit. And so it's like, you know, of all the, you know, Trump is Mussolini stuff, it's like, all right, like not having 6-hour TSA meltdowns during spring break and Easter, it's like, fine, fucking, I guess like, it's fine if the train runs on time.
I want the Coast Guard to get their paychecks. I want the Secret Service. So it's like, I am supportive of the ends, but the means do disturb me.
I'm 100% on team means. The law is the law. You don't get to apply the law when it suits you. Then it's not the law. Then it's just arbitrary. That's a hole we don't want to go down. No. Jen is right to be freaked out by this. Congress should do its job. The president should obey the Constitution. We should be obeying the law. If ignoring the law is temporarily convenient, that is a temporary benefit with long-term problems.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, I don't know what their legal justification of taking money from the big beautiful bill and, you know, paying the back pay on the TSA stuff, or whether or not it's like a temporary slosh that then gets repaid with the DHS money or whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know what even the exact argument is beyond like, hey, this is just a problem that for whatever reason we're not mad at Congress about. Nobody seems to be mad at Congress. Nobody is screaming and yelling and banging on the door saying, hey, fucking return to your jobs and solve this problem that you left. Because we're so tribal. We're like, no, let's find the person that we don't like and make them the reason why this thing isn't happening. When it is so clearly a fucking team award that we are all sitting in our own shit and wondering why it stinks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you talk to Kirk, I would be curious if he knows.
Well, I've already done it. That's up.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because I am curious. Like, I don't know. They say they're taking the money from the big, beautiful bill. I would bet quite a bit of money that they're using transfer authorities, probably in some way that's not actually legal. But I don't actually know how they're funding this right now. Like, I don't even know the excuse that they're using. Because I read the big, beautiful bill. It certainly didn't allow this. So I don't know. And I don't even know who to ask.
No.
So.
No. Okay. Jen, what's sizzling on the dish?
What the hell am I working? Oh, so I'm working on an episode on the SAVE Act / Save America Act / the executive orders, because there's a lot of confusion about this. Meryl Streep is actually what set me off, because she went on Stephen Colbert like a week ago and just said a whole bunch of things about the Save America Act that are not true. So I just want to set the record straight, which is basically SAVE Act is dead. Here's what's in the Save America Act. Here's what's in the executive orders, and just kind of put the pieces of all of it together to clear some of the bullshit, because I think this is something people are very worked up about, including the president of the United States, And if we're going to talk about it, I think facts would be nice to include. So that'll be out this weekend.
Heaton?
What if I told you there was a way that we could get the debt and the deficit on course that did not involve having to cut spending and did not involve raising income tax? Would you be interested?
Indeed, I
I'd
would.
say yes.
Yeah. So actually, this kind
Weekly
of dovetails
Kanye concerts.
this weekly dovetails with something that we alluded to maybe a month ago when we were talking about health insurance companies. Jen rightly pointed out that some of the nonprofits, not United, Blue Cross, for example, it is a nonprofit. It doesn't have dividends, but the CEO makes like $15 million. So how is it really functionally different? I think that's actually a very astute point. And I'm bringing on Scott Hodge of Arnold Ventures to talk about how, I don't know how to put this any softer. There's a shit ton of nonprofits that are really corporations that have great branding, and they are tax exempt and able to outcompete the corporations that have bad branding. And there's a way to deal with it. He has a plan on that he shares with me that I think is very solid, of being able to rapidly distinguish between charities that are really primarily charitable organizations that should not have their donations taxed versus places that are effectively corporations that are just really good at showing you that they're nice and therefore have good intentions and should be tax exempt. Like, for example, if you're a nonprofit, or at least if you're a university, you don't pay property taxes or sales taxes or corporate. Like, it's a sweet gig. Like, if you're making a bunch of money and you could click the boxes to say, but our hearts are pure, we exempt you from 4 different types of taxes. And were we to alter the system and quit leaving that money on the table, that would be a huge tax base that's currently being untapped. We talk about all that on the Political Orphanage.
That sounds fascinating. The world of NGOs is a constant interest of mine these days. All right. Well, that about wraps it up for us. For Jen Briney and Andrew Heaton, I'm Justin Robert Young saying, we're not wrong. The Adams County Sheriff Department is.
There you go.
Lemon pound cake.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Dog and Pony Show audio.